Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Youth Vibes. Kami Iwara. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to build wealth that lasts even in difficult times, while others struggle to save anything at all? Or how you can actually grow your money in an economy where it feels like cash is losing its value every day? Well, today's episode is going to challenge you to think about money. We're talking about building up long-term wealth, but not in some boring textbook kind of way. We're diving into practical, real-life side of saving and investing and staying financially smart in Nigeria's current economy. I'm with two wonderful young people in the studio today, Dr. Josh and Jemimah. They'll be hosting the show today. Over to you, Doctor.
Thanks, Nkami. That was a nice introduction. Thank you. So Jemimah, hello Jemimah.
Hi Josh.
So I think together we'll introduce our guests. I don't know if it qualifies to introduce our guests, or maybe we should go and borrow some capacity from somewhere.
We definitely.
Okay, so we're very fortunate today to have our daddy in the house, a senior citizen. He's retired now, so he's a senior citizen. We have Dr. Daniyam, who is going to do justice to this conversation with us today. Thank you for honoring our invitation and making our time to give us wisdom. Thank you for coming on the show, sir.
My pleasure.
All right. So if you listened during the introduction, you know that it's a very practical topic. It's talking about money, and of course, we all use money in our daily lives. We all need money to meet basic needs. And we're not just talking about the one naira money. We're talking about
the billions and the dollars.
the one that stays for generations. Wealth. We're not talking about transport money. We're talking about wealth. Creating a system that
outlives you.
That sustains.
Yeah.
Okay, so and why we're doing this at this time is because a few days ago we're talking about the state of our country and then the poverty line and what percentage of the country is below the poverty line. We x-rayed the exchange rate, what it was in 87, was it 87 or 78? What it was many years ago. I was about to say a few years, but that's many years ago. And what it is today. So this is a very timely topic, something that all young people should be interested in. I don't think there's anyone who is not interested in learning how to keep up wealth. Yeah. All right. So Jemimah, do you think the topic is relevant? Are we wasting our time talking about money? Is it a kingdom?
A kingdom topic, or a topic that is important
it's too worldly.
to God?
No, let's leave it. Let's leave money talks.
No, I think it's very, very important and timely too, because of the, like you mentioned earlier, the economic situation in the country. You go to the markets today, the prices are different. You go to the market next month, it's different. And so I think it's very timely. And also, I think God is very interested in our finances as well. Like in the Bible, money is mentioned a lot of times. I don't know the number, but I'm sure Uncle Daniyam
knows the number.
The number of times. Uncle Daniyam, can you just help me out?
You didn't give me that information ahead of time. Like, I know it's quite a significant statistics, really, in terms of money. Jesus talked quite a lot about money.
Yeah.
Mentioned many parables, talked about investment, talks about savings, talked about different aspects of money. In fact, money makes you or mars you.
Yeah.
So it's a subject that is very important.
Yeah.
So do you think it's wise for young people to begin to have these conversations, or the money talk should be for old people? Is only old people that should know about creating wealth?
I think you are fortunate that in your generation, these issues are coming up and are being raised so people can get educated. So financial education is very important. For some of us, it's when we were in university, or in fact, when I started keeping records was when my children were going to college, when our first daughter was going to university. And then the university was asking us how much were our expenditures in different subheads.
Yeah.
What was our income?
Can you imagine how strange that was?
Yeah, and I discovered we were
at the
not
time.
keeping records. Nobody told us this. We didn't have seniors who educated us in terms of keeping a book, keeping records that we can make reference to. But the people in the West, there's a financial education in the home. It's taught. You know how much you spend on gasoline or petrol in a month. You know how much you spend on groceries or food in a month. Come to Nigeria 2025. Talk to the ladies. What you bought last week, 2 days ago,
Yeah.
It's
for
different.
X amount, 2 days later, it's like 1.5 times the price. The prices are changing. So for people who do not have financial education to know how to plan and work, whatever they receive, they spend. So you're not talking about savings, you're not talking about giving, you're not talking about short-term investments, long-term investments.
Yeah,
Anyone
I think that's
talking
the
to you about
difficult
different
one.
things, then you said no, you don't have enough to even save.
Yeah.
You just want to live in the now.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So, Daddy, our first question for you today is we just want you to give us a little background of your own life and experience with money and building, wealth. So, at what point in your life did you decide to take your finances seriously? And at what point did you say, okay, like I want to be able to build wealth that would sustain me and not just like eat what I have and then or invest even? Because I think a lot of people talk about savings these days, but I don't really hear a lot about investments. In fact, I personally I'm clueless when it comes to investing, like, and all of that. So just a short background of at what point did you decide, and what made you decide? What were the circumstances around your life that made you decide that, okay, I need to take this seriously for my future and family?
Okay, I just mentioned something about that
School.
period
Yeah.
when our children were going to college or university.
Yeah.
Was one. The first one was during the Agbatse days, 1990, 1991, 1992. The economy was bad. I guess what I was earning, the equivalent, I remembered having a visitor from the US. He was asking how much was our income. I didn't tell him for a long time, so I tried to convert it to the dollars. It was like less than $50 a month.
Okay, but then
He wouldn't, and then he couldn't talk for like 10 minutes. That week when he came to Nigeria, he was an ophthalmologist. For coming to Nigeria and not working in his clinic that week, he was losing $5,000.
He was losing $5,000 a week. You were making $50 a
less
month.
than
A month or less than. So
Wow.
then it was like accidentals, because we didn't have people giving us financial education. So the first example was my in-law wanted us to buy land for him in Rayfield. So we never thought about having a land or having a home. Our own generation were quite fortunate. When I started working in the university, I had a house that was furnished. Cooker,
Provided
fridge,
by the university.
everything was provided by the university. I just moved in with my box.
Wow.
That was the standard at that time. So like the civil servants before that era, when they retired, they had nothing when they left government.
They only had their box that they came in with.
The box they came in, that was what they were living. Nobody primed them or helped them. So that request from my in-law got us thinking. Well, we didn't even have the money to start talking about buying land and then talking about building. So we went and scouted places in Rayfield. We found a place, and the guy who came on behalf of my in-law said, no, he wouldn't like this place. He wants a highbrow area. So that prompted us, and why don't we try some funny stuff? Why don't we be, like they say in Hausa, why don't you do something interesting
I was really looking forward to hearing you speak Hausa, because I don't think I've heard you speak Hausa.
Karambani.
Okay.
You know, why don't you just do something, that's outside of your scope of work, and why don't you get that place? Now they were going to sell 6.5 plots. A plot was 4,500 naira. That's 1990, 1991. How much was our income? So I went and called a friend of mine who became my neighbor, and he now called his own in-law. So we got 2 plots, they got 2 plots, and the in-law got 2.5 plots. So that was 9,000 for 2 plots.
Okay, 4, 5.
Or the day of payment, it went up to 10,000. So that money, we could only afford 6,000 naira. Both my wife and I were doctors. So we had to go and borrow. No, we could afford only 4,000. We had to go and borrow 6,000 from my in-laws thing, and we were paying over time.
Okay.
So that's how we now, for the first time, we acquired land before you start talking about building. So from that, our eyes opened about the possibility. So we were in a meeting in 2004. We had what we call Kingdom Leadership Development. Then the Lord was telling us at this retreat, acquire land. Acquire land. So, that's a long-term investment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything depreciates except land.
Except land.
So the land we bought at 4,500 naira about 33, 34 years ago, that land currently is valued at 10 million per plot.
Wow.
4,000 to 10 million
naira per plot. And that is not the end. In another 10, 15 years, it could go to 20 million per plot.
Okay.
So at any point, you have land, go for it. Building will deteriorate, will depreciate. But land, like in Singapore, they don't have land. So you build deep foundations, people can now build on top, can acquire land on top of your land and build. So land is one of the things, when you are thinking of long-term investment that is viable, that overrides the challenges of the economy we face now, is buy land.
Okay, since you're talking about land, just to get some things about land and the value of land. You mentioned that buildings depreciate. So I'm just thinking, if you have a piece of land, you erect a structure and then you are renting it out, as opposed to just having land and then waiting for the value of the land to appreciate and then you sell. I don't know if I'm framing the question right. So
Yes.
that building which you said depreciates on the land, would you rather have a building or just fallow land?
If you have fallow land, people will grab it. So you have land grabbers. So first thing, do you have the money to acquire the land? Then you talk about building. Building is capital intensive. So it takes time to build, but the thing you need to do eventually is to build. Then you can lease out, or you can give it, you can rent it out if you have a place you are staying. You get the point.
Okay.
So acquire land, also build, and then you can use it for different things. You get the point. So if you have land that you get all the documents and it's protected, you can use that as a source of investment. You can dispose of a portion and use the money to do other things, to even build at this time. So if you are going to sell, let's say if you had 10 plots of land, and if you sell one plot, you'll be able to start foundation.
Okay.
Then you can do some things on the land. You can bring value to the land. There are many things you can do with the land. You can lease a land if you have a big one, maybe for a number of years. You agree with them. They build the house that you want in your agreement. You lease the land for like 10 years, 15 years, and it reverts back to you.
So whatever was built on the land now becomes yours.
So you need to have education to be able to know how to maneuver these things. But if you have a home of your own, you have a building, you are secure. But maintenance, because you don't put a building on the land, you must do maintenance. If you are not renting out that land, it depreciates and deteriorates. If you put a building and you leave it there, it will just go down.
Yes.
So, and the issue with landlords and people renting, that's another
The
battle.
headaches involved.
So
the
what
back
do
and
you want
forth.
to do? So long-term investments, you're thinking of acquiring land and so on, and then small investments in shares, stocks, those things.
That was what I wanted to ask. I wanted to say this land matter, like, a lot of young people, the
It's almost not within
demographic,
their reach.
Yes, for a lot of people that listen in and to the podcast and all, land is like way up there. If you're talking about 10 million per plot, I mean, how much are we earning from our jobs? So like, I was just thinking, what other practical ways can we invest now, like even as young people?
Okay, now you have pocket money. You can call your income a chicken change, maybe. But the scripture teaches us to be wise. There's savings, there's investments, there are things you can do. When you have an income, you don't spend everything. You take a certain percentage. For example, if you save money in the bank rates are small. But if you have a little bit more money and you put a fixed deposit, you get more. You can buy treasury bills. You can go to stockbrokers. You can buy stocks. You can do long-term investments. And it starts small. Whatever you have, buy small. The stockbrokers can advise you, this is a good time to sell your shares. Get some money, but buy more. When you sell, at the time shares have come down in their value, that's when to buy shares. When people are disposing, that's when to buy shares.
Yeah.
Because they grow. They have circle, 35, 40 years.
So there was something you spoke about how you acquired your first land.
Right.
You said you didn't have enough at the time to make the purchase of the land you desired, and then you borrowed. So I want to go out. I'm driving at borrowing.
Yeah.
So how do, because like in Western worlds where we hear that people pay student loans almost for the rest of their lives. People pay mortgage for almost the rest of their lives, and it's some form of financial slavery. You're working to pay debts and all. So how do you what's your approach to borrowing?
In Nigeria, you don't borrow to buy a car. Young people want to buy a car, they want to do things. You approach someone who has a reasonable amount of money, an uncle, a relation. You can talk to them.
I notice that
you want to acquire.
You did not mention financial institutions in your options of borrowing.
I did not mention because they hold you, they grab you by the neck. The interest rates are prohibited. Your payment plan is disrupted because the economy is just not stable.
Yeah.
So today you find that the interest rates have gone up. You can imagine you borrowed, let's say, 1 million, and then you have terms of payment. You see, the banks, as the naira depreciates, the interest rates in the bank goes up. You pay more for that money over time.
Yeah.
So that's not wise. But go to an uncle that he has some change, is willing to do that, and then you are faithful in paying. You have some agreement, you are paying something here monthly, on a monthly basis, or you are getting some other things you are paying. If you are faithful, they will not hold you to the throat.
Okay, so
they'll be willing to, and they'll be willing to help you build up, so that they know that you will not come to be borrowing from them eventually down the road.
Yes.
So they're helping you to learn how to make investments that will
how
bring
to be
profit.
diligent in.
And the
keeping
point
to your
with many
word.
young people is that they don't want to be faithful. You have borrowed something. You have terms of agreement. That's why the banks are the best places to go and borrow. When you go to a bank to borrow, they have like 9 things to evaluate whether you qualify before they give you money. Right?
Yeah.
And if you are not paying, you become a slave. They can come, they can grab, they can take anything you have as collateral. So you look for people who are willing. One wise way to do it, I don't know, is like you go to your father or your uncle or whoever. Can they give you a portion of their land to dispose of, and then to use it to do something? You get the point? Then don't go and be the prodigal who wants to collect his inheritance immediately and squander it on other things. But there are people who, once they see your diligence and your hard working, they're willing to invest in you. They're willing to commit some resources to you. And if you are showing diligence, you are growing what you have received, and they're seeing that value, they will help you. It's not easy lending money out because people don't pay.
Yeah.
People borrow but do not
I was about
pay.
to say that borrowing to family is quite a risk.
Yeah, it's a risk. I can tell you from experience. They don't pay. But, they won't come back to you next time.
So it's a form of insurance. So for the listeners,
I don't know if I answered your question.
yes, you did very well, because there's the point.
You see, for me, if the bank is willing to give me loan so that I'll buy something that grows, like buy land, that the value grows, I want to take that loan. I want to find ways to pay. I will go to the cooperative and not bank. I will be part of cooperative. Then they are taking from your source of income.
Yeah.
They're taking a certain percentage. So you have acquired land and you are paying for it gradually.
Without feeling the impact.
But if you go to bank, they are Shylocks. They
a pound of flesh.
They operate in taking money from you. That's why the banks in Nigeria are making profits when others are going down. They have ways of recovering their money from you. So cooperatives are good places to go. You can take, and cooperatives, what they do in a cooperative, because they have financial muscle, they can go and source for a big land and ask for cooperators. You take this, you take this, you take this. We have the money, the bulk money to buy that. So join cooperatives that are progressive.
So 2 very important points that he has made. He talked about not borrowing from the banks. He mentioned borrowing, but the way he went about the borrowing is not what we have these days of people taking loans from Pampi, from OP, from all those pays. And then what it is usually, I notice that young people now, you take a loan from one app, and then when it's almost due, you borrow from another app to pay this app. So you are just running in circles. And Daddy has told us that what they do, their experts are taking your money. So as much as possible, avoid them. And then he emphatically advised to join cooperatives with their benefits of how their own repayment structures is not as stringent as the banks. And then taking advantage of family, use the rich uncles, parents, and they also are, I think for them, they are proud that they'll be part of your story. They help set you up. So I think even for them, it's beneficial to them. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And if you are going to borrow from a family member, please let your yes be yes and your no be no. Ensure that you have a plan to pay, and you pay, and not just take your family members for granted simply because they are family members and you know that they cannot lock you up or something.
And for your own good, try and pay back, because if you don't pay, you're not getting another handout or another loan. So you are just blocking the channel if you fail to adhere to the terms agreed upon.
So the other thing we mentioned about really building wealth, when I look back again, an in-law who was working in Access Bank at the time, Zenith Bank, approached my wife and I to come and buy shares, Zenith shares. This was many years ago. So, for example, they did not pay call duty arrears and something when we were getting those money. Now, when I got the arrears, now it's bonus.
Yes.
I used that money and bought Zenith shares. I spent all that money and I bought shares from Zenith. So this is like 20 years or 24 years. I get what did you call that payment from? Dividends. I get dividends. If you add the dividends I've collected in the last 20, 24 years, it far exceeds what I gave by so many multiples. But if I had spent that money at the time and bought something, I would have forgotten what that is. So he helped us to get some financial knowledge. Do this. At the time, it was cheap. So we bought it at a reasonable amount. And right now, every year, I get income from those shares. Have shares in different places. And then you get those things coming. In your retirement, those are the things you fall back on. How much is your retirement benefit? These days is contributory. Whatever you have collected at the day you are going to retire at 65, they work out what your benefits have been. They will give you a certain percentage of the cash. They will take another percentage of the cash and invest it and be paying you stipend as your pension monthly.
So
you get the point.
So it's not sustainable.
They don't contribute anything to you. Yeah. It's not sustainable. So, okay, I'm getting pension. It gives what it does to you is that every month you look with expectancy. You are getting something coming in, small money. You can do other things with it. So if you go and invest the other bulk money that they've given you in some venture, like you buy treasury bills, yeah, in 1 year, if you, let's say you have a treasury bill of maybe 15 million, you'll be getting something like 2.7 million or more each year. So that is coming. You are getting from your pension, you're getting on your stipend on a regular basis, and you look forward to it. It's your money, but it's coming to you. Then you get from other shares you bought over time, good shares. You have good stockbrokers who are managing it, who are advising you on what to do. Oh, dispose of your shares now, use it and buy this. This is more profitable. Or use it to do other things, projects you want to invest in. So that's how to grow your wealth.
So I noticed that in the two stories, you mentioned family. Earlier it was your in-law and in-laws, your friend, in-law's friend. Then your wife's brother came also to tell you to buy shares. Notice that family has been very, very pivotal in your own story around wealth creation. So do you have other people who do you know of any people who have bad experiences, like they received bad advice from family, or you think family can be trusted as it relates to matters of wealth creation?
Yeah, because then the stockbrokers, you need to pay them for their services, right? Like
they just take stipends from it. There are certain things they take from.
Okay.
So small charges.
Okay.
It's not anything. They know the benefits. They are using their money to do business.
Oh. Okay.
And then they give you something in its place. It's not free money.
Okay.
Because it's an investment. And they use those money, they do all kinds of trading or whatever it is to bring money, and then they get profits for themselves and for the people who had made contributions. So you're talking about, family. Some family are good, some are enemies.
Yes. So I want you to go into that.
One thing is that many family members borrow from you, they don't pay back.
Okay.
So you need to be smart and know, is this guy, when they borrowed from you the first time, did they pay at the time they said they were going to pay? Did they default? But did they come back to pay you within a reasonable time? Or they just forgot it completely? You have not forgotten, it's in your records.
It's in your records.
And they never mentioned that matter. Next time they come to you, oh, I need this. I say, well, but you didn't pay when you borrowed the last time. I'm sorry, I can't give you money. You need to be firm. That's the way to help family. So family members, some will take advantage of you. Some will say, oh, you are rich. How did I become rich? How did you become rich? So you didn't spend your money.
Yeah.
Your income, you invested part of it. You did this. You bought shares. You saw whatever was viable. And you had good friends who had good financial knowledge,
literacy,
education, and educated you on the things to do. So when you do that, you find that you are growing in your business.
Okay. So our time is almost up, but we just have one last.
But we just got started. No.
So we have one last question, right? So now with all this money talk and the need to save, invest, be smart financially, and manage our money better, there's also the biblical, injunctions to give. So how do we balance that? Because a person can get, so what's the balance between, okay, I really want to be financially stable, I want to use my money well, I want to build well. What's the balance? I think this is two questions in one.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just ask the one I want to ask. then I don't know, maybe just let me just ask the one I want to ask. So the one I want to ask is how do we balance, giving and still being able to save for ourselves and invest money and all of that? How do we do the balance?
So you notice that the scripture says to give 10%.
Yes.
Right? Give a portion of your income. All your income, just take 10% out and keep it. You can even grow in your ability to give more over time as the Lord blesses you. That is fundamental, minimum, basic. And the Lord blesses it. There are financial laws and there are laws, divine laws. God is asking you to give him only 10%. 90% you keep. So in savings, how much do you save? You can determine, okay, I'm going to save another 10% or 20%. Savings. Anytime you have excesses, bonus, don't spend it. Find a good place to divert and invest. So if you give, the Lord says in Ecclesiastes, it talks about, people don't remember that Ecclesiastes 11 is talking about investments. Ecclesiastes 11, 1 and 2 says, cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it. Can you imagine bread? Put it in water, it will dissolve and disappear.
Scatter.
It will scatter. Whatever will eat it up. But the scripture is clear. It's about investment. You have made... So you need to set out something for investment. You need to give. You need to give to the poor. You need to give to widows. You have to work out all the different things. That's why if you have a financial book, you have a budget, you are able to say how much you give to different subheads by way of support. You don't spend everything you have. And money grows. As it grows, your giving grows as well. God is the one that blesses. He says, except the Lord builds a house, the laborers labor in vain. So when we invest in God's kingdom, he gives back to us. He brings bonuses. He keeps us from getting so sick and spending so many things on ill health and other things.
Yeah.
So if we are faithful, the Lord is also faithful in protecting termites, locusts from devouring our incomes. I don't know if that makes some sense.
Yes, it does. Just to add to the question, is kind of a follow-up to the question about being so focused on wealth creation that it now becomes your goal, your everything.
Idol. Yeah, I wanted
you wake
to ask
up
that.
and it's just how do we make this wealth?
Yeah.
Is all you think about. However, let's just make the wealth. How what's the balance for you? How have you been able to balance being financially stable and not making it the object of your living?
So if you have a budget, again, there's a place for trusting God to meet all your needs. So you in your plan, you have a projection. You want to have a house, you want to have a car, you want to do this. How do you acquire? How do you get to those? What resources do you need to do that? If you save, if you invest, you don't spend. Discipline yourself to wait until you have the money to buy something. Not buying things on the spur of the moment the way you think. You can plan. You can say, okay, I will save so each month towards a car, towards a land, towards this. There's some, you can go to cooperative and say, look, I have this, can I get a loan for this amount? You get the point? So there are different subheads and different ways to save your money, and when you plan, and the scripture says, commit your plans to the Lord, trust in him, and he would help you. He will open doors that you never imagined. So planning is very critical. Having a good knowledge of what to do. Take advice from people. Connect with people who would help you to grow in different areas, who will be helpful to you, who will advise you. Don't eat everything you have. Be disciplined. Keep something aside. Keep something away. Don't just keep it like the man who buried the 1 talent. If you have 5 talents, work, hard work. God has given us abilities. He has given us other creativities that we can make money beyond what we have, our regular employment. So he's given us all those different things and capacities to be able to do a lot more to help ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, thank you so much, Daddy. It has been such a wonderful time hearing, your experiences and getting so much wisdom really from, what you have to say concerning financial literacy and building wealth. Josh, would you like to do a quick recap for us because our time is
okay
gone?
So the things that stood out very much for me were when because for some time now there are some people that you hear them say no, don't ever borrow, don't ever get money from anywhere. It's not God's will for you to borrow.
Oh yeah, I had that in my mind. I didn't want to ask because time has gone.
Yeah, so it was a new learning point for me that borrowing is not it's not bad. Yes, not unbiblical, and there's a way to go about it. That if you are borrowing, you should be faithful in returning, and then also that do not borrow from banks. You are going to take, and then investing in not he mentioned stocks, treasury bills, having a stockbroker. So these are things that you don't. It's not like buying land that you need 10 million for a plot of land, but you can buy shares with. There's this app, Bamboo also, that can buy shares as little as 10,000, 5,000. So you can really start small. Like he kept saying, you start small, and then he talked about not spending in the spur of the moment. You plan. He used the word plan a couple of times. Plan. Don't use your excess money to meet wants. Invest your extra money, like the bonus he talked about, that he was paid some bonus. So thank you very much, Daddy, for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you all.